Hi, James again from RC Helicopters and Hobbies. Today we're going to talk about our Hughes 600 when it arrives in its very large box. So after you've taken out of its box, you'll find that the legs are off. You want to stick your legs in. They'll have the skids on there. You may have to adjust them a little bit. There's retaining grub screws in the bottom of them, so you can adjust them if you wish. And they will go inside the bottom of your heli. You can see the holes, and they'll go up inside into a wooden frame. We add a little bit of heat glue, which is perfectly sufficient, but if you wish you can add some more glue or even put a retaining screw in there, but they shouldn't fall off if you've glued them in. Also, your fly bar rod will be slid back, so it'll, the box ends here, so your fly bar rod's going to be slid back. There's grooves in the rod, so you'll bring your rod forward and line the grub screws up with those grooves and screw them in. Just make sure that your fly bar paddles are perfectly in line with those on either side once you've finished, and also just measure so that both paddles are the same distance out on either side, and so then your balancing is going to be correct. So the next thing you're going to do is you'll find that your tail blades will be off. You just put them on with the bolts that are already in there, not too tight, not too loose. Make sure that they're swinging backwards. That's the way that it's going to run. Okay, with this tail section that will be off, you'll have some bolts with washers and that. They'll go inside there, and it's very straightforward how that works, and that holds your tail rigid on there. The top section will be like this in another small cardboard box inside your large box. Gently take that out. Be very careful, the side fins can be brittle, and you don't want to break those. I've broken many over the years carrying the heli around. There's a groove, a hole inside this fin here, and that sits on top of there. Just add a little bit of 2-pack glue or hot melt glue and push that on securely. Once you've finished that, you'll have some windows. You've got these top little windows there, just cut them out and glue them up there. Make sure you leave a lip on your cutout, so you've got something to glue them to. We use, again, hot melt glue. You can use 2-pack. We suggest not to use super glue because it gives off a white film which discolours your perspex, unless you use a kicker which will speed the gluing process up, and that'll work. But super glue is not the best to glue these windows in. We leave the large door windows out because of cooling. All fuselage helis really need good cooling inside. It's not worth them getting overheated, and look, 90% of all crashes are caused by overheat, believe it or not. No matter how good your motor or your ESC is, we've had some of the best ESCs in our helis and they still overheat, so it's always best to have a cooling fan on and keep your inside as cool as possible. But in your colder climates, you can put your windows in if you wish. These side windows, they do look good, but very difficult to get to anything in a hurry. You've got doors, which you can always open them up anyway. With international buyers, they will come without any batteries. Basically because we're not allowed to ship lithium polymer batteries by air freight due to the new FAA laws. And so look, when you buy your batteries, they're very cheap. You can buy them from Hobby King for $3.50 to $4.50. They're 1000 amp hour, 7.4 volt, 15C battery. You can go a little bit bigger if you wish, but they're quite sufficient. And with your UBC battery, it plugs into the same plug which is supplied straight onto the front there, and a little bit of Velcro we supply and put onto the side. With your cooling fan battery, there's a lead coming out the bottom here, and it's a different plug to that, but you can see in there you'll have your prongs, so just make sure your negative and your positive are in the same polarity when you plug it in, and just slide it in there. That'll go in nicely and also sit on Velcro there. With your cooling fan, you have got the option, you can make that up to 12 volt if you wish, because the fan will take up to 12 volt. With your main battery, it's a 5000 amp hour 22 volt 6 cell, which all our 600 helis take. These also can be bought from Hobby King. You know, this one here I think is about $42, so very cheap. They'll sit on the front there with Velcro. You're not flying 3D, so again you don't need a strap over the front. Just make sure that the Velcro is held on quite secure. Your head section, that'll sit snugly on the front there, and also what we prefer to do is supply these retaining bolts, so once your head's on you don't want to be flying around and it to fall off. They don't really, they hold on quite well, but I think it's better safe to be sorry. You just put these retaining bolts on. You can still access everything through the doors, your batteries, your switches and everything else through the doors anyway, so if you screw or bolt your head on, I think that's much safer. And the bolts you will find already in there, it's got a nut glued to the back, so they're very strong. Also, our international buyers, instead of the batteries that we can't send, we'll just include a LED voltage display. You know, you're not losing out much, so the batteries are so cheap anyway. So you've got the choice of putting that in if you want and displaying the voltage of your fan battery. It'll just plug directly into your fan switches, which is on the other side here. There's a plug in there which that'll plug in, and you can double-sided tape, you can stick it somewhere. You know, extras look pretty. Also in your box there's some extra nuts and bolts that we didn't use in the build as spares. You'll find some lighting caps. The lighting caps sit one up top and another one underneath the front here. They just glue on, and if and when you decide you want to put a lighting system in it, there's holes in these caps, so the lights, the LED lights, just go straight up inside those. The blades also will be left off, the main blades. You want to just make sure that when you put them on, you don't do them up too tight or too loose. Just taut enough so when your heli first starts up, they're not going to flop out of whack and cause your heli to flop around. If when your heli first is winding up, there's going to be a little bit of vibration, that's only going to be there until the centrifugal force swings your blades out equally, and then your heli will smoothen off quite nicely. Okay, you've got a choice with our helis that you choose either a DX7S and or a Fly Sky. The Fly Sky radios are the original radios which the new Tanergy 9-channel radios copied off. They're a much stronger, sturdier, beautiful radio with all the same programmings and switches. These are fantastic, these radios, very good. And other than that, that's about it with our Hughes 600 heli from RC Helicopters and Hobbies. I hope you enjoy it as much as we enjoy building them. We take a lot of pride in all of our helis, and we're very proud of what we do. So